by the professional jury. We have, the winner is Mattias Börjesson with his film Rampfeber, Stage Fright. And Mattias is a member of the GAG collective in Stockholm. And I'll invite Mattias and his professor and assistant Mats Berggren to join us on stage. And
I will take it in English. I'm in the board of directors in the association called JIJ, and means quality, assistance, and community. And I think the right to personal assistance is very important. So I think we should close all institutions, no one should need to live there. And everybody has the right to live the life as you want.
Det blir jättefint. Strand här nu. Det blir fint att vara direkt på stranden. Tack så mycket. Tack. Mattias. Och grattis. Det var den enda som kom på att köpa en present för att få en kram. Men det var en bra idé.
Det var föreningen jag som kom på present.
Det var det som kom på?
Ja.
Ja. Bra. Ska vi gå och sätta oss igen?
Ja.
Bra.
I'm Belinda Pike. I'm a director in the European Commission in the Directorate General dealing with employment, social affairs and equal opportunities. And my part of the Commission, we deal with equality issues, including the rights of persons with disabilities. And that includes, for example, ensuring that we have good legislation on protecting people with disabilities against discrimination, and also, very importantly now, ensuring that the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities is really applied in the European Union. And of course, one of the issues which is very important in the UN Convention, but also in our policies in the European Union, is measures to enable the independent living of persons with disabilities. And we know that the work that the organisation here is doing is very important to ensure that people are not having to live in institutions which deprive them of the ability to live independently, of the ability to use all their abilities. And so we very much welcome the sort of work that you're doing. Of course, the European Union countries are at very different levels of development in supporting independent living, but we try to encourage exchanges of best practice, conferences where we talk about independent living. And in fact, that will be one of the major themes of a conference we're holding in Brussels this December around the time of the International Day of the Rights of Persons with Disabilities.
Is it around the Swedish presidency or after?
It's during the Swedish presidency. It's a conference that we hold every year, but we know also the Swedish presidency has been very committed to ensuring that the European community is able to conclude the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities under your presidency. So certainly we feel very encouraged by the initiatives taken by the Swedish presidency and by some of the examples of what's happening here in Sweden.
So there exists a handicaps ombudsman, we call in Sweden and so on, in the rest of the European countries.
In many European countries, there is a handicapped ombudsman, but at the moment we don't have a legislative requirement that every member state should have an equal opportunities body dealing with disability issues. Now, there is legislation that we've put forward to the European Union to ban discrimination outside the employment area on the various grounds of discrimination, including disability. And that includes a requirement for an ombud. And the Swedish presidency is working very hard to get this legislation adopted. It needs all the governments to agree, so it might take a little time. But already we know that in a number of countries they have established a disability ombud. And we are encouraging also exchanges of information between those bodies, between those ombud across the European Union.
So you believe more in ombud than legislation, or is it both?
Well, the legislation at European Union level actually is the reason why many countries have an ombud, for example, on the grounds of race and sex discrimination. So you need the legislation, and then you need an ombud who can both help people exercise their rights under the legislation, but ensure that service providers and employers understand what's expected of them, so that they realise what they need to do and how they can avoid any problems, any breaches of the law.